We are live. So, this is episode 2 of the Fireside Yankees show. Unfortunately, your New York Yankees have dropped 2 of 3 to the Washington Nationals, a below 500 team. I'm Ryan Garcia. This is my friend and co-host, Sam. And look, it's not a great night, right? Like, objectively, you drop a game to the Nationals where I feel like you did have the pitching advantage. Mackenzie Gore had not been pitching great in the second half. Carlos Rodon seems to have found himself a little bit in the second half, and things just didn't go the way we expected. It kind of immediately got off to a bad start. We don't score Gleyber Torres from second base on an error. Rodon gets smoked in the first inning. It's pitch comm issues, all that stuff. But we're not just talking about tonight's game. We're talking about the series. So, Sam, how you feeling tonight? How you doing? And yeah.
Pretty gross series. Me and my tall friend here are going to chat about what happened this week because it wasn't the best baseball that we've seen from the Yankees over the past couple of months. Granted, guys, not fun in D.C., right? You guys see the title. It sucks. It really blows. Coming off of a big series this weekend in Colorado, which we had a lot of fun. Sunday was a lot of fun with the back-to-back home runs. Then you go to D.C. and just kind of get stomped on by this young team. They have a great program over there. Good for them. Dylan Cruz came up, had a good week. Chaparro, which is one of our old guys, came up, had a good week this week. But again, real gross, and we're going to wrap it up for you. Before we get into it, I have to shout out the social media stuff. I got to shout out the shirts. Guys, I don't have the Play the Song shirt on, but if you watched episode 1, you guys saw it. Me and Ryan both had one on. Super comfortable, super flexible, and they say play the song on them. We only got to play the song once this week, which kind of sucks, but hopefully we get to do it again over the weekend. I'm going to the game this weekend, so we get one in person. So go cop one of those shirts. They're in all of our descriptions. They're in our links and bios, that kind of stuff. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere you could find us. Go follow Fireside Yankees. Some of them it's Fireside Yankees. Some of them it's Fireside.Yankees. And let's get into the episode, man. Let's talk some ball. Let's ride, Ryan.
Yeah, so, I mean, the first game of this series, it was awesome. The first game of this series, the Yankees play excellent defense. Nestor Cortez had it wasn't, in my opinion, a dominant start, but I thought he just did a job. Like, the best way to put it, it was a grown-ass man performance, right? That's what I think Nestor did that night. He didn't have his best stuff. He kind of just pitched he just let the Nationals put balls in play when he realized his defense was going for him. The offense was showing up early. They scored a run in the first. They were able to tag on more runs as the game went on. Even though Judge and Soto didn't do much, we had a Gleyber leadoff home run. Wells homered and had that back pick to second. I think it was the back pick straight to the home run. That robbery Aaron Judge made. I mean, it sucks that we won't get to talk about this double play more after the series because we probably just don't want to talk about this series after the fact. But that double play was sick. Like that, he shows to the umpires he has ball in his hand. He's basically not celebrating, right? But he's like, I've caught this ball, and then he throws the guy out, right? He throws James Wood out. It's one of the best plays I've ever seen. Probably the most amped I've been for a home run robbery. Like, that was a big play. That was a big moment. I think Nestor needed it. I think this team desperately needed it. They pick up 12 hits. You feel good coming after this game. Unfortunately, the next two weren't great. But for this game specifically, Volpe was 3 for 4. He had a great series. This game felt like it should have been the start of like a dominant series after a win against the Rockies.
Yeah, this was our fun for the week, right? This is, I love that you mentioned Nestor because I thought that his performance was pretty much overshown by the defense. Obviously, you just mentioned that Aaron Judge catching center field for the double play. But shout out Alex Verdugo straight up running into that wall, and the brim of his cap just straight up went up, left a dent in that left field wall at Nationals Park, which was crazy. And I love that you mentioned Anthony Volpe because, yet again, I got to shout him out because Anthony Volpe has been magnificent over the past week. He's been awesome. This is a 3-hit game tonight, but this is also including stats from tonight as well. Since last Tuesday, 9 games, 11 hits, slashing 333, 389, 445, 455, 854 OPS, 5 stolen bags. The kid's on fire. He went through a really rough patch, but right now, this is a kid that you can really rely on, and he's hitting in that back half of the order. Looked great this week, was awesome, had a great 3-hit night in the first game of this series. But again, this was just kind of the precursor of what happened over the next 2 days because it ended up getting really ugly. But it was nice to see Gleyber get on the board with a leadoff home run. That was really fun. Austin Wells continues his torrid stretch of just mashing baseballs this summer. He's been awesome and didn't play the night after. And again, I really just still don't understand the can't play against lefties thing because he still mashes against lefties. But I digress. I'm not the manager of the New York Yankees. It's not my decision. But outside of that, Cortez, I think Nestor went 20 scoreless innings or something like that up until the 6th inning. He gave up that solo shot, and then that streak ended. But the bullpen did their job. Clay didn't blow the game, and it should have been a fun start to a week, but ended up being a really gross start to Tuesday. So, yeah, fun game. Fun game.
Yeah,
fun
I
game
mean, Tuesday, like, again, we just the vibes, you get. You win the series against the Rockies. You dominate them. Your offense shows up and shows out. And then Patrick Corbin is shoving it down your throat in game 2. Like, talk about the whiplash offensively. I mean, look, I get it. Like, I posted this graphic. Like, Corbin was legitimately spotting. Like, it was crazy. He was dotting cutters and sliders inside to righties and down the way to lefties and all that stuff. But it's still Patrick freaking Corbin, man. Like, the guy stinks, and he threw 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 hits. He allowed 4 base runners. This was terrible. This was a really bad, like, really, really, really rough game. Cole, like, he looked a little rocky in the second, and he starts finding it, and you're like, okay, yep, Cole's locked in. Offense just has to get one. And then Andre Chaparro hits a fastball up, and he crushed it for, what, was that his first Major League home run or his second Major League? First Major League home run. And then Jose Tena on the very next pitch, and he had hit the ball well all series. I didn't know this. The Guardians traded Jose Tena to the Nationals, and considering the Guardians can't hit, first off, screw you, Cleveland. Like, what the hell, man? Secondly, I mean, great find for the Nationals. As you mentioned, like, they seem to just be clicking on all cylinders right now as an organization. Dylan Cruz came up. He was very impressive. James Wood couldn't stop running wild on us, but focusing specifically on this game, Cole was just meh. He wasn't great. I don't think it was enough to lose the game, though. He gave up 3 runs over 5 innings. Like, I don't think that's an uncompetitive start. We just didn't score. We didn't score to the final innings. Judge, it really felt like it came down to that Judge at bat with the bases loaded. And look, Aaron Judge, he's done way too much for me to sit here and be like, he doesn't do enough, this and that. He just didn't come through there. The worst possible thing that could happen there happened. He went into a double play. And then the 9th inning, the decision I think that everyone's going to be talking about the most is letting LeMahieu into hit in that situation against Kyle Finnegan. Sam, did you want LeMahieu pinch hit for in that spot? I'm going to assume I know what your answer is, but I did want to get your take on that situation.
I mean, of course, 100%. Anybody within their right mind, outside of, I guess, the FO, would say to pinch hit for LeMahieu there. I mean, at that point, like, it's a matchup thing, and like, you just want to put somebody else in and get a more high leverage bat. Like, everybody on Twitter last night was screaming about Waldo and was like, give Waldo a chance. And like, granted, like, we all pretty much have the same answer, and that was kind of shouted to the nines last night on the internet as far as like if he should have gotten pinch hit in that scenario. The Judge thing is fine. Like, again, like an at bat in late August isn't going to change how I feel about Aaron Judge as a player against the Washington Nationals of all team. This is going to be a speck in the dirt by the end of his resume. I don't really care too much about that. AB sucks in the moment, right? But like, I'm not pitting that entire game on that one Aaron Judge spot. I'm pitting the entire game of the Yankees and Nationals playing Thunderstruck last night. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. That's the movie where Kevin Durant like touches the basketball or whatever, and like the kid like gets his like insane basketball skill for like X amount of time or whatever. That's what happened to Garrett Cole and Patrick Corbin last night, because Patrick Corbin somehow randomly turned into 2019 Patrick Corbin after being legitimately the worst pitcher in baseball over the past 2-3 years. And Garrett Cole just started getting donged off of after he had a really good stretch there where it looked like Cole was finally starting to pull away, and it looked like Cole was finally getting back to that Cy Young self that he had been for the last 2 years. But like, just a really, not like, again, not a bad outing from Cole. Like, you're going to take 5-3 earned every single day of the week, but when your offense can't do anything and get shut down by one of the worst pitchers in baseball, you're not going to win baseball games. So this, again, was just a really ugly loss that I hated to see the Yankees lose because of the missed spots and, the randomness of Patrick Corbin turning in this crazy good start against one of the best offenses in baseball, statistically the best offense in baseball. And again, just a stain. And 4 errors last night is another one that was pretty ugly for the Yankees. There were a lot of real crazy miscues
that inning
in the infield. That Trevino inning was really like, it was like Trevino, LeMahieu, like that was nasty. That essentially, I think that added a run. So it would have been 3-2 instead of 4-2.
And that
So
changes things. You never
yeah,
know. You do not know. It just changed things. It does. For me, it changes things. And I also wanted to mention in that game, well, first and foremost, in reference to Thunderstruck, it is a modern tragedy that movie never actually happened to Kevin Durant.
yeah.
It is a tragedy that he did not lose his powers to a random kid that would have. As a kid, I actually thought that was based on a real like story. I thought Kevin Durant, like I didn't.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
I mean, I thought a lot of things. Like I don't want to get into all of that because like
Yeah.
I'm not going to embarrass myself on a podcast. I'm going to have before, but not too much on this one. But getting back to that game, the errors, yeah, like dude, I feel like more disappointing than LeMahieu's bat has been the defense because, and I saw a reply say this under one of my tweets, and I thought this was so accurate. It's not just that he's not hitting, he's not playing great defense. Like he's not a sure-handed glove at first or third. Third, I think he looks better at third than he does at first, but like it doesn't feel like the consistency defensively is still there. At least LeMahieu can be a late game sub, right? Where like you bring him in the 8th and 9th inning, and he's gonna make those plays. I just think that like come on, right? Like you've got to make some of those plays. I'm not gonna kill him for not making the catch on the Trevino throw. On one hand, I think that's a ball that he can stop, but on the other hand, it is thrown to the outside part of the first base line. Trevino has to get down the inside part. The play that I'm really gonna rip him for, and not really rip him. I mean, I texted you this. I'm more disappointed, not really mad. It's that ball right at him, right? Where like Gallo hits a ground ball that could result like the runner wasn't going at first. If you make that routine play, I don't think that runner ends up scoring in that inning. Also, Jazz not getting the tag down. Like Trevino made up for it by throwing the guy out. Essentially, Chaz didn't get the tag down. Granted, I'm not gonna give Jazz the level of criticism I'm gonna give a guy like LeMahieu because the guy has a 1,000 OPS with the Yankees for every defensive miscue, and I think some of them are just growing pains. Like I think this is the first time Aaron Boone talks about a player struggling to do something. I think he's actually accurately portraying it. I know he's not going to dog his players publicly, but even when Chaz is playing good defense, he was like, yeah, there's going to be growing pains. He's right. Like they're going to be growing pains, but he's mashing. We saw it today. He like that center field home run was crazy. That ball was just smoked. But defensively, they got to be sharper. That was just an ugly game. And then it carried into this third game where like, dude, it was the vibes were all from the start. Like, come on, like Gleyber gets a gift. It's a throwing error, ends up at second base. You get Soto, Judge, and Stanton inconsecutive against Mackenzie Gore. You don't cash in. And that was kind of a common theme from this series because Soto and Stanton ended up going 1 for 25 combined with one walk, and that was Soto. So they got on base three times all series. Like that also can't happen. I think I don't expect that to happen in every series, but I think that really cost them because they really struggled with runners in scoring position. They gave Soto and Stanton opportunities and they just didn't come through. And such a parallel because again, we just like 3 days ago, back to back to back. And then like today, it's like, you don't get enough. So this third game, I don't think it was as ugly as the second game, but that doesn't really like, we still lost. You know, I'm not really going to sit here and make it seem like, hey, it wasn't as ugly as the second game, you know?
Yeah, one last thing I do want to tap on DJ LeMahieu before I move on to this game is DJ LeMahieu's defense has statistically been poor this year at both corner spots, -2 DRS. So that's at first and at third. And this is a player that, he hangs his hat on defense and being that platinum glove winner and like being incredible in the field. And like, well, if he can't hit, he can play third and bat ninth, like something like that. Like very similar to like what we were just talking about with Anthony Volpe a couple of days ago. But like DJ LeMahieu at this point isn't providing a lot of value to this team at all. If anything, it's very negative value. So I think it might be time to look for some solutions here. But with this game tonight, man, like with Stanton and Soto, it's a thing. It's a thing of like when your big guys don't hit, you don't win baseball games. And that kind of like is what happens. And like, I'm going to be honest, like Aaron Judge did not hit a homer this series. So it kind of seemed like he didn't have a good series, but like at the base of it still like had a solid 333 average. You can't tell because he's not hitting a home run every game like he was for the past week. But I thought the Judge was in that group as well. But Soto and Stanton did not come through. And I especially find it weird from Soto just because he's back in this place where he essentially grew up as a Major League Baseball player and was like back home and just like really did not have a good series at all. Looked uncomfortable at the plate. Like, I don't know what it was with him, like mentally or like what the whole deal is with Soto there. Stanton, again, peaks and valleys with that guy. That's kind of how it is. We saw the peak this weekend. We saw the valley this week. So it's just kind of how it is. Again, Jazz, fun, just a great player. I mean, like, what are you going to do? Like, I don't care what Jazz Chisholm does at third base defensively. I like if he's like the slightest bit negative, I'm not going to get angry at you because this is a player, again, that has never played this position at the major league level, even the minor league level at third base, and is doing a decent job over there. But right now has a 1.0 OPS with the team, Ryan, and a 684 slug with 9 homers. He had 11 homers for the Marlins in the entirety of this year. I think that was like 70 games before he got traded to the Yankees. He's played 20 games with the Yankees. He already has 9. So this is a player that, is showing up at the bat every single day, wants to put in the effort, brings a lot of speed on the base pass, and is a lot of fun, right? One more guy that I want to tap on about this game tonight, and we talked about it over the weekend, and it's about Carlos Rodon. I begged Carlos Rodon for some consistency. He had a nice run there where he was a solid pitcher and had some good outings. Tonight comes out, and it's just gross. There's the pitch clock thing to start, and it's the constant first inning struggles from this guy. I feel like if you put Carlos Rodon into a game in the second inning, I don't think it would matter. He would probably then go a complete game shutty. But if you get him in that first inning, he's just awful. So I feel like Carlos Rodon has to, again, find some sort of consistency so that going into a playoff series, this team can trust you and we can trust you to be able to get the job done. This was another performance tonight that I just thought was gross and was ugly and is just unacceptable from a pitcher of that getting that paid that much money. It's just got to be better. Rodon has to find that consistency.
And I think like people talk about like the offensive depth of this team is like not great. And look, when you invest $90 million in 3 of your hitters, like you have to make sacrifice in other areas. But I mean, Stan, you can argue like, okay, he's not, the player you thought you're going to get, but he still hits. Like Rodon, I need to get more from him, right? Like I'm paying him to be the second best starter on the New York Yankees. He is the 5th best starter on the New York Yankees, right? Like Nestor has having a better season than him. He has a better ERA, better underlying metrics. Cole's better pitcher. Luis Gil's been the better pitcher. Clark Schmidt hasn't had the volume, but I think he's been a better pitcher. Like I feel more comfortable with him making a playoff start. He made a second rehab appearance saying he looked pretty good. We'll talk about some of the rehabbing guys and kind of what their timelines could look like. But like, dude, it's just not enough. Like it's just not enough from him. And I know that he's capable of more because we've seen it. And we've talked about like AJ Burnett, right? Like AJ Burnett, that kind of career arc, but you have to earn playoff starts to have that kind of legacy. It has to be better. And we're in year 2 of this contract. And I don't know, like, do guys get better when they're like 34, 35? I don't necessarily think so. Do I think he's getting a little smarter? Yes. He's throwing more changeups. I think that changeup's a good pitch. He's figuring some stuff out, but like, it's just not enough, dude. It's not. It's weird. Like this pitching staff, I don't feel like it's I'm not going to consider it a strength of this team, but it's not like the crippling issue that I think some people paint it out to be. But some of the, like, it's just a matter of consistency. Like they'll go through stretches where they look atrocious. They'll go through stretches where they look great. The bullpen today, like, I mean, granted it's like a crazy like double play for them to keep it scoreless, but they did a job, right? It's Rodon has to be better. Like that's just kind of the best way to put it. That was like the only disappointing, I think. Not disappointing. I think Cole was a little disappointing. 3 runs, right? Like you expect maybe a little bit better, but this was only like the truly like, all right, what are we doing? Like you put us behind the 8 ball. You seriously damage our chances of winning this game with your start or your performance kind of game from any pitcher this weekend. That was his. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think there's anything too much to tap on, even with Rodon.
Yeah,
kind of bearing the point of like, hey, like, I just need you to come out every day and do the same thing that you did last week, kind of thing. Like, just keep running that same formula, keep running it out. This is a young Nationals team that just really took advantage of what Rodon was able to do today, and then even Cole yesterday. So. Yeah. I mean, just a gross series of baseball that I would love to forget. And I'm going to be honest, this to me is just kind of a blip in the spectrum. Like, I'm not too worried about this team following what just happened. Me and Alex were on an episode this morning and we're talking about, guys that are on the mend and guys that are kind of coming back. And I kind of want to get your perspective on some of those players coming back. I know that Anthony Rizzo will probably come back and, presume that starting first baseman role. John Birdie can fill a sort of utility role. Clark Schmidt, who we absolutely love, and I think that fills right back in this rotation, is going to be back in the next couple of weeks. I think he's going to get 2 more starts in Triple. He just got transferred to Triple. And then I'm missing somebody, Ian Hamilton, who could probably end up being like maybe like a setup guy and maybe can even replace Clay if he's at his best. So how do you think those 4 guys specifically fit into this team once they get back in the next 2-3 weeks-ish? And what kind of roles do you think they're going to play?
I'm personally extremely excited for Clark Schmidt. I have not hid how much of a fan I am of Clark Schmidt. I was a big fan of him going into the spring training battle in 23. The stuff looked really good in this start. He was averaging 92.7 on the cutter. He averaged 92.4 this season. So it's not up enough to say, oh my gosh, he's throwing so much harder. Just enough to say, hey, he's throwing hard, right? Sinker 94.4, average 94.2. Like the velo's all there. Movement profiles are there. All he needs to do is just make sure he's commanding reliably, because I don't know if people noticed just how good Clark Schmidt was this year. He had a 2.63 ERA. His stuff took a huge uptick. He averaged 3 more inches of horizontal movement on his slider. Stuff plus upticked 13 points. Strikeout rate went up. He has 3 different pitches that have a whiff rate over 30%. This is a guy who's kind of built to be a playoff starter. I know that the third time through the order struggles are there, but with having so much starting pitchers that you feel confident can throw major league innings, like for as much as I get on Rodon, I think he can serve a role on a postseason roster. I don't think he's the most useless pitcher on planet Earth. You can piggyback guys. You can have Schmidt give you 5, maybe 5 and a third, and then go to your bullpen, get maybe a Marcus Stroman involved, maybe get a Luis Seal involved. Luis Seal, somebody that could move to the bullpen. I think Clark Schmidt's best served as a starter. I think that's kind of where I'm at with him. And then the other guy who I'm super excited to get back is Ian Hamilton. Ian Hamilton had a 99th percentile whiff rate and a 99th percentile chase rate when he was struggling this year. He was still missing bats. He was still getting guys to expand the zone. That indicates to me it's a command problem. Command is something that can be shaky if you're injured or sore because you're compensating mechanically. You're not firing on all cylinders. It kind of reminds me of when Loaizaga came back in 22. He was having a really rough year, comes back and he's nails in the regular season to end the year and in the postseason. I'd argue he was our best reliever in that postseason, or the guy I trusted the most. Hamilton rocks, dude. He misses bats. This bullpen get deeper. And I like a guy like Lou Trevino either. He's looked pretty solid in his rehab outings. He was a really good Yankee on that 2022 team. And, he's another guy that I need to shout out because he had like a 1.66 ERA when we acquired him. He's the best part of the Frankie Montas deal. That's the best way to put it. And Sam, again, this is kind of where I agree with you on the sense of this isn't a podcast. We're going to sit here and just start screaming about how these teams are losers or mentally soft. This isn't that. They got to play better against bad teams, but I'd rather be the team that can't beat bad teams but can beat good teams than the inverse of that. The inverse of that is just a fraudulent team. That's the key indicator of a team who can't win a title. They beat good teams. They just struggle to beat the bad ones. That's going to hurt them in terms of trying to win the division. But hopefully the Dodgers can do us a couple favors tonight and tomorrow. But again, kind of wrapping this up, they're getting some key reserves back. I'm not super high on Rizzo, but defense, we just complained about LeMahieu's defense at first. I imagine he's a better defender than LeMahieu, at least instinctually, being there, doing that before, doing it at the highest level, in any kind of situation, World Series, whatever it may be. And look, he's your 7, your 8 hitter, your 9 hitter. Maybe you get Dominguez involved and that helps you, but I think there's going to be an objectively better team on September 1st. And I think that's always going to be my confident point. This is not the team we're going to see in October. And I think that gives me some confidence that I don't have to be super upset when they lose these kinds of games.
Yeah, a couple of things that I'll tap on there with you. So Clark Schmidt, I just looked this up. May 30th, when he went down, 10th lowest American League starter ERA at 2.52. Very underrated pitcher. And looking at this graph actually makes me sick because there are some really key names on here that were awesome earlier in the year that kind of fell off, kind of tailed off a little bit. Stroman's up here. I think he's 15. Rodon's up here. He's 16. That starting rotation was cracked to start the year, which is absolutely awesome. To go to Anthony Rizzo, my thing with Anthony Rizzo is, and I talked about it this morning, Ben Rice, since that 3-homer game on July 7th or July 8th, whenever it was, I think it's he's hitting 116, 30 WRC plus, negative 0.7 F4, real gross. DJ LeMahieu has obviously not been awesome at those corner spots this year for you. So I feel like if you get Anthony Rizzo back, who again was not great, he was not awesome at all, 80 WRC plus, negative 0.5 F4, seemed like he really lost it. at this point now, if you spot Rizzo in at that first base spot, it's better production than you're getting from Rice right now, who's young, and I think he's going to figure it out eventually. But you send him back down, you let him finish the year in triple, that kind of stuff, you're going to get better production than what you're getting from DJ LeMahieu, maybe even better defense, like you just mentioned. And, I think it would be better to take a below league average bat, decent defense over people that are just absolutely net negatives across the board. So I think Rizzo could add some value. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the stretch and how that roster fills out. But like you mentioned, I think Dominguez is going to be a part of that equation as well. It's all kind of shaken up with what happens with Verdugo down the stretch and how that left field position plays out. I think Boone really likes his veterans and he's going to keep running with Verdugo outside of Dominguez, who is the 20-year-old phenom who's going to be on this roster for a couple more years, and Verdugo with the expiring contract. So I think, like you said, this roster is going to look a lot different. And again, I'm not going to get on this podcast after the Yankees just lost a gross series to the Nationals and start screaming about them. I walked away from my computer last night and was like, I watch this team 162 times a year. I'm not going to lose my mind if they lose one game. Like, this team loses 60, 70 times a year. So it's kind of at that point now where, like stuff like this happens. Like, it is what it is. Like, a team's allowed to lose baseball games every once in a while. We're just here to talk about and, analyze what went wrong, how they can move forward with this, and what happens down the stretch in September. So I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. I think you kind of put it in the perfect way. So.
Yeah. And, I also want to point this out when it comes to like where this team's at. Like, Ohtani just did us a favor, hit a solo home run. Well, I don't want to comment on that Dodgers Orioles game because like it would be really awful if like by the time this is done, like the Orioles just start beating the crap out of Walker Buehler, who has objectively not been good this year. And then we're just kind of like, all right, but getting to like where this team's at, what they're looking at going forward, they just got to get it going against bad teams. Like they're so good against good teams. It's incredible. They're really the only series where I felt like they were genuinely outmatched by a really good team. I think the April Orioles series and then the Dodgers series. Those are the two times. And even then, at Dodgers series, they lost that first game. Yeah, and they didn't have Soto, and they lost that first game by the skin of their teeth. Like it was one of those like extra inning games. They just couldn't get it done. And then it just fell apart in extra innings. The only game they got blown out in was that game where Tommy Kahnle gave up that grand slam to Hernandez. This was before Kahnle got it going. And that first April series against the Orioles did kind of just dog walk us. They shut us down. But I think the rest of the season's dictated that like these two teams are very evenly matched. So I don't feel like there's anyone the Yankees can't beat except for really bad teams. And thankfully we don't play bad teams in the postseason. And also left-handed pitching. Again, it's so weird how bad we are against lefties. Like, it does not make sense. This team last year was really good against left-handed pitching. This team couldn't hit last year. They add Juan Soto. They add Alex Verdugo, who, again, not really much of an addition, but, I'm just throwing that in there. And they get worse against left-handed pitching. It's kind of crazy. And Soto's good against lefties. So I guess the one thing I'm concerned about is that, like if they face a left-handed starter, how are they going to perform? But yeah, like I don't know. Like this team's just like, they're good. There's not like, I'm not going to change my opinion on them after one series. If you do that when times go rough, I feel like you have to do that when times are good, right? Like if they rattle off 4 in a row or if they're going to win the World Series, that kind of thing. I think Dominguez could actually help them a lot. Like I did an article on him this morning. His damage rates and his contact rates are stupid, man. Like he's hitting the ball actually harder than he was last year in AAA, and that's coming off of elbow surgery. I don't know if people know this. Like elbow surgery really messes with your power. Bryce Harper hit 3 home runs through his first 47 games last year. He was not hitting for any power. He slugged 386. Then he turned on the Jets. He had 21 home runs in the final like 80 games of the year for him. If Dominguez comes up and he's at the 47 game mark now, he just played his 48th game in AAA tonight. Sam, could you imagine if he finds his power stroke, kind of like he did last year at the Major League level, where he just started hitting bombs? I'm not saying he's going to do that, but I'm just throwing out there that I don't think he's even fully kind of unlocked yet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's 100% still.
No, we talked about it a couple days ago with Evan Carter. Like, he could come up and be Evan Carter on the stretch for the Yankees, and I think it like wouldn't really surprise any of us just because of what we saw him do at the Major League level last year. I love that you mentioned Bryce Harper because it was a really like weird stretch for him when he came back from that UCL injury. Or he did have surgery, actually.
It was the same surgery as Dominguez.
Yeah, it was like very quickly. I think it was like a 5-month thing. Like, it was not it was not long whatsoever, but he came back and he hit well, just didn't have the power. So I'm perfectly okay if he comes up and provides a little bit more than what Alex Verdugo is giving you right now, because what Alex Verdugo is giving you right now isn't great. He is actually playing pretty well since that allergic batting glove thing switch. I don't know if you've seen those numbers. It's a little interesting thing that I found on Twitter a couple days ago. That's a fun nugget. But I could totally see Dominguez coming up and ripping that spot off of him. I wouldn't put that out of the equation whatsoever. And as far as the Yankees playing against bad teams, Yankees against good teams have the most wins in baseball at 47-30. So again, I'm not worried about playing these terrible teams and not being able to get the job done. But at the same time, like, you do want to be able to get this done right now. And kind of like I talked about the other day, you want to be able to take this bad stretch, beat all of the bad teams that you can. And in that final week, when they walk into Baltimore, then go, okay, like, we have to take 2 or 3 from Baltimore right now and end up winning this division. Like, I don't want the Yankees to have to do that, because it's high leverage, it's high pressure. Like, there's no point in doing that. And at that point, you're burning a playoff start, because if you have Garrett Cole go in this last game of the year and you're trying to win the AL East and they lose, then the team has to turn around 2 days later and then they're like, oh, like, we're playing in a wild card series now. Like, we have to get out of this too. So, like, Garrett, like, you better get ready for game 3 kind of thing. So, like, that's not something that I want to do. I want to be able to cruise through this, beat the bad teams right now, move forward with our lives, and just kind of get it done. But, like, again, I think this is a blip on the radar. And, you know, from this team right now, I still think they're a good roster. They're pretty balanced. Like, I didn't necessarily realize how bad they were against left-handed pitching until I looked at it tonight. So the Yankees, I did see the Yankees have best WRC plus in baseball. Against righties, it's 124, which is first. It's the top mark in baseball. I think the second best is San Diego at like 117. Against left-handed pitching, they're just 106. So that's 13th in all of baseball. So it's pretty league average. So there's like a significant drop-off between the two. Never would have thought in my life that I'd be screaming for a righty. Never in my life.
A power hitting righty. It's kind of like like the exact kind of thing we were saying. Yeah, the Yankees don't profile well for that kind of thing. It's exactly what they need. And, you know, I tweeted about this today. It really just hurts the Rays wouldn't trade us Yandy Diaz. Like, I hate Tampa Bay with a passion, and I've already hated them. Now I hate them even more. And you know, looking at one other thing that I want to talk about from this series is that the Nationals killed the Yankees on the base paths. Again, I don't necessarily think that was on Austin Wells today. Like, I think a lot of it was, you know, number one, the pitch count apparently wasn't really working. So I imagine that wasn't great for, like, hey, you should check on this guy. Hey, back pick. Hey, step off, whatever. Maybe I'm sure Wells trying to send those signals where it's not going the way Rodon hoped it would. And I also don't know if Rodon was checking his runners properly. So, you know, I feel like that's something you'd have to watch the game film and like look for it to know for sure. But, you know, I think one thing that, you know, having a guy like Birdie, having a guy like Dominguez would have is, I would love to torch teams on the base paths with the right kind of guys. Like, I'm not saying you play John Birdie because, like, you'd have to play over Glaber. Glaber's seemingly finding it in the leadoff spot. I'm not gung-ho about, you know, platooning a guy like Glaber. That would be a little weird. But if you were in a late game situation and I had, you know, John Birdie to pinch hit for somebody, pinch run for somebody, I would love to do that. Volpe, I think, creates havoc with the bases, with his legs on the bases. Josh Chisholm does the same thing, and I think it's electrifying. They have to be able to, like, they'll have an ability, hopefully, to run the base a little more, because it's something that some teams do against us, and man, it's killing. Like, it would rock to, like, in games where you're just not getting that extra run or that extra hit, it would rock to be able to just go, all right, we're just going to run the bases. We're going to have Volpe, like, steal second. We catch in our offense. Fine. We'll force something to happen. And it worked. In that Nationals, that first game, I think 2 runs scored off Volpe hustling, off Volpe, like, stealing extra bases, making stuff happen, because it just set up LeMahieu for the easiest sack fly ever. And, you know, credit to LeMahieu, came through both spots with that. But yeah, like, I feel like that's an angle of this team where, like, I'm not saying they got to start replacing every slow player with fast players or something like that, but I would love to see them get the running game incorporated, because they're capable of it. And the Orioles just took a 2-1 lead because of 2 errors, a throwing error and a wild pitch that they didn't throw. He had him swing on strike team. The catcher, like, just stood there. Yeah.
I will say I do think they're more athletic than they were. They're far more athletic than they were like
Yes.
last year, even like 2 years ago. And I think it's a thing of like the coaching staff doesn't necessarily know how to even adjust to it because it's like, hey, like we have a guy like Volpe now, we have Jazz now who can run the bases, like Walter can run the bases a little bit. Like it's like, and even Birdie when he's up with the team, like is 94th percentile sprint speed, like has the tools to be able to do something like that. So I think it's a thing of like the coaching staff isn't necessarily used to, oh, hey, like we can probably squeeze here and get somebody over and like do these sorts of things. Like we don't need to rely on the big hit every single time. So I think that'll probably be something that gets incorporated down the stretch. But I think they have to use that speed at some point because there are teams that will end up killing you on the base pass. There are baseball clubs that just strictly rely on speed. I mean, like look at, the amount of guys that survived in Major League Baseball strictly because of their speed. Guys like Billy Hamilton, who had a 15-year career, could not hit to save his life, but was incredible in the outfield and played and was awesome in the base paths, like guys like that. So I feel like they have to get that incorporated into the game plan. And, it's a sharp contrast to using a guy like DJ LeMahieu. So I feel like that'll be something that they'll use down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I did want to also talk about was some of the minor league guys that could be on the radar. Like Dominguez is obviously the guy who everyone's like, all right, he's on the radar. Like he's been awesome over his last 15 games, saying like 400. Like he looks the part of a guy who's ready to play at the major leagues. Caleb Durbin's come back from the IL. He was somebody who's like getting some major league consideration. And I do think he would have come up this year if he didn't miss like 2 months of the season due to like getting hit in the hand with a hit by pitch. He hit 3 home runs all year before hitting the IL and hit 4 home runs all of last year. He's hit 4 home runs the last 18 games. The guy's 5'6" and does not hit for any power. So him hitting for any power, maybe that's a guy who plays the infield next year for this team. Or is like maybe they have to get creative because like Birdie gets shut down or something like that. And they just need an emergency pinch runner. He's another guy who can run the bases. I think outside of Dominguez coming up, if there's any minor leaguers that come up, it will be guys who can run the bases and play a lot of defensive positions. They're just going to look for guys who can be versatile because that's kind of what this team needs, right? Like they're not going to have Caleb Durbin try to come up in September and like steal a starting job from Gleyber Torres. Like that, he's a rookie. The guy's never played Major League Baseball before. That's not going to go the way you hope it will in most cases. I think Dominguez does have a chance to like straight up just yoink Verdugo's job. I know we talked about this a little bit, and like I think you have a more accurate view of it. Like I think it is gonna just look like one, they're gonna kind of split duties, and then one of the two will emerge as a starter for the postseason. And then there's not really anybody in the bullpen. Like Efros is technically in AAA. And I think Matt Blake said he should be on the way soon. So that's another addition. I wonder what they're gonna do with the bullpen, man. Like they've got a lot of moves to make. They have a lot. They have Trevino, Hamilton, and Efros. I don't think Potit's getting the major league call up, right? Like he's probably just going to
no, and that's somebody that I've heard about a couple times, but like I kind of ignore it whenever I hear his name. I'm just kind of like, okay,
he feels like the Will Warren replacement,
sounds fun.
Like that kind of
right,
thing, which is valuable, but like
right, but like I'm okay with not having that. Like I'm perfectly okay with adding a dominant arm like Scott Efros instead. Efros, the biggest thing with Efros is when they traded for him in 2022, he had the 6 years of control and he still has 3 options left. So, which I actually just learned about. But he was a lot of fun when he came up with 22. And I feel like that bullpen is just going to look a lot different than it could. Like there's absolutely no way. And tell me if you disagree here, that the Yankees are going to walk into a postseason series with Tim Meza in their bullpen. I just don't think it happens. Like somebody like that, I feel like it's going to get cut down. So like some of these like high leverage arms, like somebody like a Scott Efros, like an Ian Hamilton, like I just think that I think your locks right now are probably Clay, Cousins, Weaver, I guess you could say Hamilton if he's healthy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, do we consider Trevino a lock? I don't think so. I think anyone who hasn't been here isn't a lock. If you haven't thrown this league team, you can't really be seen as a lock because if they struggle, like if Efros struggles, they're just gonna option him. He has
exactly. And like Trevino, I think Trevino was on a 1-year deal.
They could just
this year, and he was like coming back from so they could just cut him. So I don't necessarily know, dude. Like he didn't pitch at all last year. So I would say that there's probably like 4 guys that I would lock into that bullpen right now as far as the postseason roster. If you're going to field like 8 guys,
Holmes, Cousins, Weaver, Canley. That's really where I'm at.
Canley. So there's 5.
We did not mention Canley.
Yeah, so there's 5. So like 5 of your 8 is locked down. I think those other 3 spots are probably up for grabs, and one of them probably gets tossed to the starters because you're not going to roll out every single starter in this rotation right now.
Yeah, so the 5, so you have 6 guys who I know will be on the roster in the regular season when everyone's healthy. And Cole, Rodon, Stroman, Cortez, Heel, Schmidt. 6.
Yeah.
Those 6, not in that order, but those 6 pitchers will be on the roster if they're healthy in the regular season. Come October, 2 of those guys have to go to the bullpen. You're going to have 9 bullpen spots and 4 rotation spots, most likely. Then you have the 4 guys you locked in, so that's 6. Mark Leiter Jr. doesn't have options, but I think you can leave him off the playoff roster without using an option.
Yeah, I don't think you get repercussions for leaving somebody off a playoff roster.
So
I think it's like you don't make a team.
Right, but the thing is, they have to roster him. Like, he has to, they can't cut him. So, like, right? Like, you'd have to introduce somebody. You'd have to really get creative here.
Yeah.
In September, you can go 5 starters, 9 relievers. That means that you can send down Warren. That's 1 spot. You have to add Heel and Schmidt. That means you have to do 1 DFA, or 1 option. DFA is probably the guy you DFA. Bickford's another easy DFA. That opens up a spot for Hamilton.
Bickford's gone. Yeah.
Then you have Trevino. This is the tough question. Tim Hill isn't necessarily dominant. I don't view Tim Hill as like a stud, but I trust him probably more than I do Mark Leiter Jr. And he is the only lefty remaining after you DFA Mesa.
I got to keep one. I guess it's Tim Hill, dude.
Now here's what it's got. I mean, the thing is though, like now that means you have to leave off one of Trevino. This is where I thought Leiter Jr. might have had options. He doesn't. They're not optioning Jake Cousins. That would be so stupid if they optioned.
No, he's been incredible. He's been incredible.
Right.
He's not going to go anywhere.
You're not going to go to DFA Hill and then have him pass through waivers. I don't think that could also happen to Leiter Jr. I think he would get picked up. You'd have to just say, hey, we think this trade's a disaster. It's over. Which I'm not sure that's the right call. I would at least like to see him get an off season and then start 25 with this roster.
Yeah.
Mesa has minor league options. You don't have to DFA him, but you have to open up
options.
Right. He does, but you have to open up 40-man spots. So you have to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I think Hill might have to get cut because they need 40-man spots. They need Hamilton needs a 40-man spot. Trevino needs a 40-man spot. Schmidt needs a 40-man spot. That's 3 guys right there. So you have to DFA 4 people, 3 people minimum. So,
damn!
And if Tonkin got cut, Hill can get cut. That's kind of 100%
right
now.
But
and it's really weird. It sucks. That's got to be a plane ride for him.
Here's the thing with Tim Hill, dude, is I feel like deep down in my head, like Tim Hill is going to be that guy that gives up a big home run in the postseason. Like that's like if he ends up on that roster, like that's mentally a thing for me.
He doesn't miss a lot of bats, which is a huge concern. Like he strikes out he struck out with the Yankees 6.9% of batted face. He just throws his sinker down the middle and hopes to get ground balls. Granted, it's worked. Like he has a 2.27 ERA and he has a positive win probability added, but he hasn't really come in like big spots. And considering some of the infield defense we just talked about earlier, like Tim Hill getting a ground ball, like is that necessarily is only getting ground balls like the thing you would like to do? You know what I'm saying? Like you want more. You probably want to miss bats. So
here's something that I just found that was really interesting.
What's up?
How much faith do you think the Yankees have in Luke Weaver down the stretch?
Probably a good bit. Like probably enough to keep him on the roster.
Okay, since the All-Star break, real gross. 5.87 ERA, -0.1 F4.
Is that because of that one outing though? Like, is how many of those?
It was like a 5-run outing.
Yeah, half his runs did come from that one outing. I think that one outing was like one of the grossest.
Okay,
he had a 135 ERA. It's one of the worst outings I've ever seen. And today he did get lucky. Like granted, his ERA will show that he has not given up a run since August 16th, and I thought he looked good over this stretch. Could they maybe they don't have options on him, but maybe they shut him down for like 15 days for the postseason and go like, hey man, like I remember with Wandy in 22, they did that. They put him on the IL for like a tricep thing. And then, maybe that's how they bring back one of the relievers. Like, could they bring back Trevino. I mean, they're not going to wait that long for Trevino. It's like a month.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know
know what they do. And then you wouldn't have Weaver, but then you wouldn't have Weaver for like the Orioles series. And you kind of
Which I
want
think you
Weaver.
kind of want Weaver for that Orioles series. Well, again, this all depends on where they're at. It all
Yeah.
depends on where
Also,
they're
a guy
at. So,
could
like,
just get hurt tomorrow. Like we could just find out tomorrow that Tim Hill has tricep inflammation. Now it doesn't matter. They're just going to cut him.
The easiest way to do it is end up walking into that Orioles series and being like, okay, we don't have to do anything. We can take 3 days off and play the bench guys and just.
And that's why this is frustrating. Why this is frustrating.
That's why it's irritating. Like, so it's, dude, Tommy Kahnle hasn't given up a run since
he's been incredible.
Cousins is lit. Like, shout out Kirko, dude. I love you.
Big Kirko.
Tim Hill's been good. Clay Holmes has been good. Like the only real blip here is Mark Leiter Jr.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's going to be a really tough decision just because that's a guy that he just traded for. And they already got rid of De Los Santos, who they just traded for at the deadline too. So
and Leiter Jr., like that's not a guy you could just cut. Like that would be really like that would look really bad. And I also understand like wanting to give him like an off season to like see if you can work on some things.
Right.
Maybe it's just like, you know what I mean? Like you did send out Jack Neely to get him. And Jack Neely was like probably their second. I consider him their second best reliever prospect. Everyone said he's their best. And I get why, but there's another guy in Double A I like way more. Eric Reselman at LSU throws like 100 miles an hour. Freaking gross. I think he could be in the bullpen at 25, but that's a conversation for a different podcast.
Right.
The bullpen, they just have a lot of weird pitching moves they're gonna have to make. Worst case scenario, look, if they cut Tim Hill, I'm not gonna cry about it. It's just like I imagine that's just it's kind of like the Tonkin thing, except Hill's not trending in the wrong direction. It's just kind of like, hey, this is a guy who's probably a quality reliever, and you just don't have room for them, and that sucks. Like that sucks. Objectively, it does suck. Like I don't feel good talking about, hey, Tim Hill's probably gonna lose his job. I don't feel good saying like, hey, Tonkin lost his job, and like that's another thing too. Like I feel like. It's kind of hard to do the whole like this guy's got to lose his job, that guy's got to lose his job thing. Like when the team's current right now could change in like 2 hours in first place. It's just hard for me to kind of get all that out of the system, and also just kind of look at again, just kind of like tying it back to this series. It feels like they lost series because they couldn't get Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton do anything.
No,
like they had a combined 3 times on base and 2 hits. Like that's not going to happen the rest of the way.
Coming off the high of Sunday and then floating right into that series, and the two of them not doing anything just kind of sucks because it's like you said, like you allocate $90 million of your payroll to 3 incredible hitters, and for 2 of them to do nothing during a series, it does suck. But again, it's one series. It was 2 bad games. I'm not going to get angry about it. It's not the end of the world. I do want to shout out Tim Hill. We received a video in our Instagram DMs from Josh T. DeGrazia on Instagram. Shout out to this guy. He took a video of Tim Hill at Nationals Park in like the Nationals Park bullpen. And Tim Hill was walking towards him. And this guy yells, "Play the song." And Tim Hill, who like I think is probably as old as my father, like was like, "What? Like, what are you saying?" So Tim Hill does not know about the "Play the Song" trend on Instagram, which kind of sucks. So, but shout out to him. He'll probably be a grandfather soon because that's how old I think Tim Hill is.
Tim Hill, I mean, look, depending on the roster moves, Tim Hill will have time to become a family man. So. He's a great dude, actually. Like he's a great guy.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
Did you know that like do you know his story like coming up through like I think it was the Padres or the Whites? He came with the Padres, the White Sox. Royals. He beat cancer and then he came back.
No shit.
Yeah, he's same thing. Like I think it's a similar story to Ions. He beat cancer and came back. Like this
That's
guy
awesome.
It's like I'm severely knotted up about not being able to have Tim Hill on this team for like a lot. Like because you gotta like I also think there's a factor of like you gotta have balls to be
He's a good dude.
You've got to have balls to be a reliever. That guy has to have balls.
I feel like being a reliever is probably one of the most stressful jobs in sports.
Right.
Because you got to think about it, man. Like you're coming into high leverage situations. You barely have any time to warm up. All you're getting is like 10 warm-up pitches, and you're walking out in like the middle of the 9th inning in this high leverage game, and you have to perform unless like you're getting dogged. And like starters have 5-6 inning outings, so like it suppresses their numbers a little bit. if a reliever gives up one home run, if they give up one solo shot, your ERA is in the sky, son.
Yeah.
Like, you're never coming back from that.
Look at that one Luke Weaver outing. His ERA, ERA probably shot up half a run because of that one outing.
Dude, I guarantee it did.
And honestly, like let's be honest here, like Game 6 World Series, if Clay Holmes shuts down that game, the Yankees, I mean, his legacy will go down as a New York Yankee like much better than it will go down as if he never wins the World Series.
Yeah,
or if,
for
like,
sure.
Could you imagine if he had like the greatest reliever season of all time and then blew Game 6? Like he'd be one of the most hated Yankees of all time.
Being a champion changes your entire perspective.
Exactly.
On a player.
I also love the cup choice for tonight because those are two teams we're rooting for tonight. Even though
this is what I went to that series, and that was fun. I went to that Sunday night game, which was actually the only that was the only fun game of that series, which was awesome. I was in Somerset that day, which is we were in Somerset that day.
We saw big Garrett Cole pitch.
That was cool, man. And I'm going on Saturday. I'm going on Saturday afternoon when
the Yankees are
the Yankees.
Okay,
the Yankees. Yeah, I'm going up. I'm sitting in like 115. So
damn,
I'm gonna be real close. Okay. Me and my buddy Will are going up when they play the Cardinals. I think Cole's pitching that day too, which is cool. So I've seen a lot of Garrett Cole starts this year, surprisingly enough. Even the one at AA. So that should be fun this weekend.
Did I forget which I think I caught a Stroman start. It's the only game I caught for the Yankees. I don't think I've gone to a game since that first month. I'm a curse. We don't win games when I go, so I'd like really.
Dude, they lost one game that I went to this year. I watched them. I think it was the first game of the Subway Series at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one. They got like shelled. Like
that was the second one. They got smoked. Cole got killed.
Oh no, the first one at Yankee Stadium. I don't remember who. I think it was Heel. I've seen Heel pitch 3 times this year.
He pitched he pitched well, and then like they just couldn't get a big hit. Like the Yankees could not buy a big hit, and Michael Tonkin.
No, they had numerous situations with like runners in scoring position and just could not get the job.
Yeah, Judge got like a fastball down the middle. And he just like took it, and I was like, why?
And and granted, like I'm up there sitting. I was sitting like 205, so like I could barely even see it. Like I'm like looking down. I'm like, oh, like he just took that. I don't know. Everybody just started freaking out. Like, what's the deal? And then I go home, and like I'm on the drive home, and I'm like, look, God damn, that is cool.
I love when like fans boo a pitch call, and it's like it's not even close to wrong. Like I love that so much. Like it'll be like ball down the middle. It's like boo, and it's like, dude, it's down the middle. I love it though. Like I don't think it's stupid. I think it's great. Like I love the concept of like just boo the umpires because we just didn't get the call we wanted. Like I love that so much.
Dude, I love going to baseball games. I think going to baseball games is the most elite experience that you can have in your life. Dude,
I can tell you one experience that could match up with that, but I can't talk about that on this podcast.
I was about to say you probably can't say that.
No.
Remember, this is a live show, Ryan.
Yes, so of course. You know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. You and I can talk about that off camera. I've had a lot of fun times in baseball games, dude.
No, they rock. They rock.
Yeah, I mean, like, but I'm right there in the boat of like, there's some experiences that I've had that I can't discuss on the podcast. So,
yeah, that are like just as fun.
But like speaking of bygones, man,
we did get to see Spencer Jones hit that like laser beam to left center field when Cole.
That was really cool. That was really cool.
His OPS now in the season's a season high 770. Don't ask me what his strikeout rate is, because we're not going to talk about that. His strikeout rate does not exist. So,
do you think they should have gotten rid of him, dude?
My thought process in that is that like the Yankees probably shopped him around and saw what they could get for him, and they probably were like, we can't get enough. Let's just see if we can boost his stock in the offseason. Look, I mean, he's an uber talented prospect. The guy's 6'7", runs like a guy who's a foot shorter than him and hits the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's not hard to see how that guy could become a good major leaguer, but they're gonna have to like if the strikeout rate's 30%, he'll be a good major leaguer. Like he'll be a good major leaguer.
His strikeout rate is.
Yeah, it does.
That's why I just made that face.
Yeah, you didn't see it. It's bad. It's rough. And it's crazy. It's he's been on a heater offensively, but he's still striking out 37% of the time. So it's like, is he on a heater? Like it's when in the prospect world, your OPS going up is cool, but it's like, how did it go up? That matters way more than the major leagues. Like in the major league level, you can't actually be a guy like you can just be Joey Gallo. And like look, Joey Gallo's not like he's awful now, but like had some good years.
That's right, man.
I can't believe that ball he crushed. I'm so shocked that ball didn't go out. I really thought that ball was gone.
I I was very, very close to crashing out last night when I
That's
saw that.
fair. I think
And that's my arch nemesis, dude. Like, I hate
the
that guy.
crash out was the error inning. That was that was a crash out. Like, I'm not gonna lie. That inning, I just
Yeah,
hate bad
not
defense.
fun.
They need to be sharper defensive. Like, the errors they're kind of annoying. Like, I know again, like growing pains, Jazz, third, I get that, but like again, LeMahieu, come on, dude. You are here for defense. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Like,
and you know what sucks, honestly, is that Monday was a defensive show.
it was brilliant. It was
Monday was a
beautiful.
defensive show, and then they come out on Tuesday and have 4 errors. And I was like, guys, like, how do we go from peak to peak to valley to valley? How does that happen?
I will say, maybe you know what it is. It's the elite presence of a guy like Austin Wells in the baseball field. Like his glow, his smile, his the sunshine,
his aura.
I like, dude. I'm not gonna lie. As a huge Austin Wells guy, the sequence of that back pick to the home run, like that's my like. If we did sounds of the song for this episode, that's my sounds of the song. I know it should be the Aaron Judge home run robbery, but that's my personal sounds of the song. Like, I got to post the GIF twice in a row. I love posting that GIF, the Austin Wells GIF. That's my favorite
it's just
thing.
Aaron Judge aura? Is that like, or not Aaron Judge, Austin
Wells aura? Yeah,
dude,
that GIF is no joke my favorite thing to post. Like, I will find excuses. When he plays well and I get to post it, I feel so happy.
You're my sunshine.
my
only sunshine.
I'm not proud of this. Like, I'll randomly text it to people. Like, not even just you. Like, I'll just send it, dude. Like, I've sent it to like buddies of mine in school. Funny. I've sent it to my girlfriend like 5 different times randomly. She doesn't seem to like it. She doesn't understand it, which like I don't understand. Like, I feel like the GIF is a good GIF, but whatever. I
send LeBron pictures, like reaction pictures to people all the time.
Like,
it's very
normal. Objectively the best version of this like template. Like, it's just iconic. But
no,
like,
I'm saying like, I don't. Have you ever seen the picture of like him just like sitting on the scorer's table, like pissed off? I've totally sent it to you before. I fire that picture on people. The
picture that's probably the greatest, in my opinion, is the Game 6 one against Boston. Like, to me, that's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of, like, you just want to embody that. And then, like, the video you sent me, like, the LeBron thing where, like, it's, like, the Cleveland fans, like, they're, like, rioting after he leaves, the decision, all that stuff. And it's, like, the Homelander.
You stay back. Yeah.
That video goes. That
thing's gas, son.
That video goes crazy.
You posted that about something really funny. I think it was something about Rodon.
It might have been.
I think it was something about Rodon, dude.
I gotta check it.
I think you were just like, I have to watch Carlos Rodon pitch tonight or something.
I forgot what, dude. I think I found the last time I posted it. Oh, I posted Jason Dominguez in my lineup instead of Alex Verdugo when he took BT.
Oh, yeah.
And the video, the funniest thing is the video went for 386 likes and 29,000 views.
So funny.
I
loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Or like, have you ever seen the picture of like the when they kept DeAndre Jordan and they locked him in the house by using the chair and Marcus Cuban? I love that picture. Like, like a week before the deadline, I posted that picture with Brandon Lau when he like came to New York and hit a home run off the ball. I just posted chair picture. There's 2 funny chair pictures. That one, then there's a chair picture where it's like every hotel's got that chair. I don't know if you've seen those. That picture is funny too. 100%. This podcast is maybe not a Yankees podcast at this point, but like,
here's the thing about this though, is like, we're going to do these after every series, and we're going to like try to extend them to this hour length, but it reaches a point where like you harp on the negative so much that it can't necessarily be all about a 3-game set at some point.
It's also like,
it is what it is.
Also, like, objectively, we're sitting here and talking about the Yankees. Like, yeah, they lost, but I mean, I could be like doing anything else, and I don't know if I'd really enjoy it that much. So I'm pretty happy. Like, you know, like I'm not gonna lie. Like, we lost. I should be upset. I'm not really. I'm looking at the picture of Marge from The Simpsons of her going like this, and I put Tim Hill kicks and deals. I love that. That
exactly what he does, dude.
That picture brings a smile to my face every time. I will post it. I don't know if it's a when he gets DFA'd, but if he gets DFA'd, he will be honored the same way we honored Michael Tonk with that strikeout against Philly, which that strikeout in Philly was so hype. Like,
dude, I was at that game.
Yes, you were at that game.
I was at that game. Yes. And that thing was lit.
Yes.
And that's why, like, when he got DFA'd, I was like, oh my God. Michael Tonkin got DFA. That sucks. Then I took a look at the stat sheet. I was like, oh, okay.
I feel like my initial reaction was there's no way he's been that bad. And he was that bad over like the second half. Like,
you know what it was, though?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Michael Tonkin was put in really bad spots. I feel like he was put in really low leverage situations where the Yankees were losing by like 15 runs already.
Mm-hmm.
And they would put him in and he would get shelled. Like that extra inning game, I think his literal, like, it was not his last appearance, his second to last appearance. He was thrown in against the Guardians. And I think he was the last pitcher out of the bullpen that was left and ate like 4 earned runs in that like 12th inning. But like at that point, the game was gone. So you were just like, like whatever.
I actually told a friend of mine this. I was like, Michael Tonkin is so good when the game matters. But when it does not matter, he's one of the worst pitchers I've ever seen.
100%.
Like when the team has no chance of getting back in it, that man's getting tatered. When this team is losing, they get blown out. Like when this team's losing, the pitching staff just falls apart. Which, granted, for timing reasons, has helped this team win a lot of games lately because they only really, really suck when it doesn't matter. Like Michael Tonkin coming in and getting smoked by the Guardians, even though they didn't really smoke him. It was like a bunch of weak batted balls. And it's like that BS game where we're already down like 2 runs because Meza came in and gave up the go-ahead runs.
Yeah.
That was such a frustrating game. That game's the only one I'm like actually upset by. That one Cleveland game. I also hate Cleveland, dude. I hate that. Like, I'm so happy their admin, their Twitter admin. Like, I'm so happy he didn't get to post anything about winning the series. I'm
100%.
It brings me so much joy to know that guy or guy. I think it is a guy. I'm happy. Like you like it's so happy to like know because we're on the content creation side of things. We kind of know how like prepping for a win, prepping for a loss, knowing that he had it ready and then deleted it. Like that feels so good, dude. Like they had that thing prepped. They knew they're already ready to talk their crap and they lost. I love that.
It's like us with like the song videos. Like the song videos are always in a chamber, they're in an arsenal.
Except we deserve good things to happen to us because
they're themed.
Yeah.
They're themed, which is cool. So like it really sucks because like I was really feeding into the like patriotism thing with like them playing the Nationals and like being in DC. The win video for either yesterday or today was.
Am I allowed to drop one F-bomb? Just one.
That's what I wasn't gonna drop it. I was just gonna say like what it was.
Oh, was it what the?
Yes, that's what it was.
Gosh, yes,
that's what it was, and it was like bleeped out.
You should take the honor of doing it on this podcast right now.
No, I'm not doing that because like we're gonna stay censored. The kids are here. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna be nice.
Yes.
I'm not. I did say I think I said the S word not too long ago. So I'm gonna let that one ride. But like
I feel like that's different. Socially speaking, I didn't know this. Those are 2 different levels of curse word. I was not aware of that.
I could see it.
Wasn't aware.
Yeah, I could see it.
I apologize to our viewers.
I think that the F word is probably a step up, but it's also the word that I use the most, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
That is like in my everyday vocabulary, I say, F you to somebody, just like joking.
That is a great point. Do we want to do like an official? I know I like joked about it with the Wells thing. Do we want to do like an official sounds of the song for this?
Anthony Volpe, I love you.
We're gonna give it to Anthony Volpe.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Hold on, I know exactly. I gotta. you know exactly the LeBron copy pasta. Boy, oh boy, Anthony Volpe. Where do I even begin? My honey, my Pookie Bear. I have loved you ever since I first laid eyes on you. The way you drive the ball into the gap and strike fear into catchers with your speed, your silky smooth touch at shortstop, and that gorgeous swing. I would do anything for you. I wish it were possible to freeze time so I'd never have to watch you retire. You had a rough rookie year, but you never gave up hope. You are even amazing off of the field. You are a great friend and son. Sometimes I even call you my dad. I forever dread and weep thinking of the day you will one day retire. I would sacrifice my own life if it were the only thing that could put a smile on your face. You give me so much joy and heartbreak over the years. I remember when you first debuted, and it was like my heart got broken to a million pieces when you struggled. But a tear still fell from my right eye when I watched you steal 5 bases over the last 9 games. My glorious king, you deserve this sound of those songs. I just wanted you to return to being good. I don't know. I can't. There's just all this like references to 2016, and like we didn't win a title, so I can't really like copy that. You know what I mean?
I mean, that was beautiful. That was glorious. Shout out to Ann.
Thank you.
One last note before we go. I do want to say that Kylian Mbappe's Twitter account just got hacked. And is tweeting some interesting things. So
yeah, if you want to be entertained tonight and you watch the Yankees and we're not entertained, just well, number one, watch us. Like if you weren't entertained by us, then like that's kind of harsh. But sucks. Also go to Mbappe's Twitter account because like
go to Mbappe's Twitter account.
Remember when Buster Only was hacked and like he was just tweeting out like Lindor to the dot or stuff like that?
Do you remember when Giannis was hacked?
Yes, and it was like the Golden State thing.
Dude, when Giannis got hacked, that was the most aggressive hacking I've ever seen because of the things that he was saying. Like, it was awful.
They have, if you're going to hack, and you shouldn't do this, if you're going to hack a baseball reporter or like a reporter in general, don't promote your whatever scam thing you're going to promote. Just drop a random
That wasn't only, that was passing.
Passing, yeah, they put like their, like that crypto scam or whatever. What are those called? It's like
it was what were they called? Those like the picture things. Yeah, what NFTs. Listen, and here's the thing with that is when that came out, that was like peak of when the lockout was supposed to end.
Yeah.
We were 3 months deep into a lockout and Passion's Twitter got hacked. And he was like, we were like waiting for the announcement, and it was just like an NFT scam.
If you're gonna, and you should, again, this is not endorsing it, but if you were gonna do it, don't drop an NFT. Just tweet out, I don't know, Juan Soto is signing with the New York Mets or signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Right. You can really, if you're gonna go the effort to hack somebody and potentially probably get arrested, definitely get arrested. There's no troll, no one laughed.
Something that will go down in the history books, dude. Nobody's gonna remember you,
right? You're just gonna get arrested, and then you're just gonna have to like go explain to people you went to jail because you hacked Jeff Passan. They're gonna like you're terminally online. Leave a legacy. I am terminally online. What's up?
Mbappe's Twitter has reset. So
damn.
Yeah, it's gone now. That kind of sucks. Okay, well, I think that's it.
That is. I will. So the Dodgers have 2 on, 2 out. They're down 1 run. We'll see if they can come through at a different point in time. Yeah.
Board.
Right now the Yankees are 78 and 56. They are 22 games above 500. They're off on Thursday, and then they will kick off a series at the stadium against St. Louis Cardinals, a below 500 St. Louis Cardinals team. The expectation for me is to take 2 out of 3, but it's a below 500 team, so they'll find a way to make the third game. The game they lose, the most excruciatingly painful game ever. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. There will be a video and audio version of this podcast. The audio version of this podcast will come out tomorrow morning. You can rewatch the video of this podcast right here at Fireside Yankees on the YouTube page. If you want to check out the first episode, that is also on our YouTube channel. We have a ton of fun content. We have a bunch of articles at Empire Sports Media, not just New York Yankees stuff. It's all your favorite New York sports teams. And we have some betting content too on Fireside Bets. If you're into that kind of stuff, you have to be 21 or older. Remember for that, folks, and bet responsibly. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Ryan. That is Sam. We'll see you guys in the next episode of the Fireside Yankees show. Let's go Yankees, everyone. Peace out.